License appeal hearing, Ronaldo Martinez, Chief of Game Rob Bonamici. Mr. Martinez is appealing revocation of his license privileges. Rob, do you want to come up and kind of lay out a groundwork? I understand we have a language barrier issue, and we need to make sure that we understand exactly how that's going to play out here.
For the record, Chief Game Warden Rob Bonamici. Mr. Martinez does speak a little English, but is not fluent in English, and we have a translator here that will guide us through that and make sure that Mr. Martinez understands the process and everything that's going on here. I suggested that he bring an interpreter because we don't want to blindside anybody or have somebody present that doesn't understand everything that's going on. So that's our purpose here for the interpreter, is just to be totally upfront and make sure he understands everything that's going on.
Okay. So let's see. What did you want? Dag, Whitney, will you kind of lay out the procedure as to how we're supposed to proceed in this proceeding?
Sure. Basically, it's the Department of Wildlife will go ahead and present its case in chief first. There'll be after the department presents its case, there's actually time for a cross-examination by Mr. Martinez's side. Questions can be asked by
you need to speak up into the microphone.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I didn't realize. But certainly. First, the department will go ahead and present its case and opening up. Then there'll be time for Mr. Martinez to actually ask questions of the department concerning this matter, and the commission can also ask questions of the department. After the department presents its case, then Mr. Martinez has the opportunity to present his case. However, the department can ask questions, cross-exam questions of Mr. Martinez, and the commission can also ask questions of Mr. Martinez. And evidence can be presented by both sides here for the commission to consider. And after both sides present this case, basically it's just time for closing arguments. First, again, the department, then Mr. Martinez. Then the commission will go ahead and make findings, conclusions, and deliberate and make its decision.
Okay. One question I have. I see that Mr. Martinez has a young lady that's with him. Ma'am, are you an attorney?
No.
Okay. So you're basically.
I'm only going to translate for him.
Translate. Okay. So Mr. Martinez is not represented by counsel, so we're going to have to have a little bit of guidance here. I think just, we just stated what the procedure is, but every step of the way, let's make sure that we make sure he understands what he can do, and I think we should be able to get through it. So anyway, so
yes.
Well, I guess at this point, do you want to, Rob? Do you want to go ahead and start the case?
Sure. For the record, they stipulated they understood everything.
Okay.
If I could ask one minor procedural perhaps question. One thing is, if Mr. Martinez has anything to say, if we could, there's more than one member of this commission that speaks Spanish. If we could hear both the translation and the original, would appreciate it. Okay, because more than one of us understands Spanish too. Thank you.
Chief Bonamici, I've been told that I need to put you under oath. So, you do solemnly affirm that the truth and nothing but the truth. No, excuse me. You do solemnly affirm that the evidence you shall give in this case or matter pending between the Nevada Department of Wildlife and Mr. Ronaldo Martinez shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Yes, I do.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead and proceed.
Okay, again, for the record, Chief Game Warden Rob Bonamici. What you have before you is a series of exhibits that are in chronological order that will demonstrate that we indeed followed the procedures outlined in NRS and NAC with regards to revocations, and that Mr. Martinez was notified properly throughout the proceedings. Exhibit A is the amended criminal complaint that was filed, State of Nevada versus Ronaldo Martinez, and it was for a possession of wildlife after the end of the open season, a misdemeanor as defined by NRS 501.385 and NRS 503.030. And that was in Elko County District Court, or Elko Justice Court, excuse me. And then Exhibit B is from Elko County Justice Court again, the order sentencing the defendant, and again, State of Nevada versus Ronaldo Martinez. And in there you see the fines and penalties that he was assessed, confirming that he indeed, and a forfeiture of a rifle, confirming that he indeed was found guilty. And then on the back page in that same exhibit is the certificate of service to show that, demonstrate he was served with those papers. Exhibit C is our internal tracking, a citation issued pursuant to the conviction. And on the second page, which is actually the back of the citation, you'll see code 4011 and 12 demerit points. And I'll further clarify those demerit points. In Exhibit D, NAC 501-200 lines out what violations and convictions of those violations result in demerit points and how many demerit points are assessed for particular violations. On the second page, which would be page 2 of 6, under unlawful possession, a couple lines down, you'll see unlawfully possess big game mammals during the close season, and which falls under NRS 503.030, which is what Mr. Martinez was convicted of, is 12 demerits. And then continuing on to Exhibit E is NRS 501.1816 under Section 2. If a person accumulates 12 or more demerit points before completing a course of instruction pursuant to subsection 1, the department shall suspend or revoke any license, permit, or privilege issued to the person pursuant to this title. Exhibit F is the letter, certified letter that was sent to Mr. Martinez stating that he indeed had 12 demerit points and that his license privileges would be revoked. And in bold there, you'll see your privileges will be eligible for reinstatement on October 3rd, 2014. And then he was provided the opportunity for an appeal, as it states in there as well. Exhibit G is certification that Mr. Martinez received his letter of revocation, and then Exhibit H is Mr. Martinez's letter requesting a hearing, and that's why we're here today.
Okay, has everybody on the commission had time to look at the exhibits and have any Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to ask Mr. Martinez to go ahead. He can cross-examine. Okay, do you know what that means? And basically, he can ask questions of the Department of Wildlife as to his case, and then Chief Bonamici will attempt to answer those questions, for the benefit of the commission. So, Mr. Martinez, do you have any questions of the department or any statement?
He said he really doesn't have any questions. He said he would like to express himself about the appealing.
State that again.
He would like to express himself about the appealing.
Okay, just a second. Procedural matter. What I'd like to do is I'd like to swear both of you in. And so, ma'am, what is your name?
Yaramis Bosch.
Could you spell that for the record?
Yaramis.
And last name?
B as a boy, O-S-C-H.
Mr. Martinez, you do solemnly affirm that the evidence you shall give in this issue, pending between the Nevada Department of Wildlife and yourself, Ronaldo Martinez, shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Okay, could you state yes for the record?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. And Ms. Bosch, I'm going to give you an oath, but I'm going to have to change it a little bit. Do you solemnly affirm that the interpretation that you are giving Mr. Ronaldo Martinez's testimony on this issue pending between the Nevada Department of Wildlife and Ronaldo Martinez shall be accurate and as to the statements that he's making to you?
Yes, it will. Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. Let me just restate that, both accurate and truthful.
Yes, it will.
Thank you very much. Okay, I'm going to, Mr. Martinez has no questions of the department at this time? No, okay. I'm going to bring it back to the commission, and the commission will basically ask questions of the department, Chief Bonamici, with regard to the exhibits and any additional testimony, any additional information. So I'll go ahead and bring it back to the commission. Any commissioners have a question with regard to the exhibits or any other matters?
Mr. Chair?
Yes, Commissioner Howell.
Rob, for the record, did Mr. Martinez have any prior violations? And the second question I'd have is, what was the exact time frame that he was cited and the close of the season? In other words, was it a day or 2 days, or what was it?
For the record, Chief Game Warden Rob Bonamici. What the situation was in a nutshell is Mr. Martinez did not have a deer tag in his possession, was not issued a deer tag. He was on a hunt with another female, and he shot her deer.
She had a tag?
She had a tag.
Okay. And no prior convictions?
No prior convictions.
Okay. So it wasn't after the season, though.
No, what we suggested, Mr. Martinez was cooperative, and due to the nature of the situation, it was chargeable as a felony, definitely a gross, but because of the situation, we thought it in the best interest to pursue a misdemeanor, and that's what we did.
And then, in other words, he admitted shooting the deer?
Yes, he ultimately did.
Yeah.
Commissioner Raines?
Thank you. A couple things, Chief. One is, now, when this happened, I'm just trying to grasp the situation of how it happened. Now, it appears he did not show up in court. Is that what I'm seeing here? It was an abstentia. I see one of these things in abstentia pleas. So he did not show up, and he did not plead guilty nor non-guilty, or did that happen at a later date?
That I would defer to him because the officer's report doesn't show that.
Okay, so I was just sitting here, reading him. It's an order sentencing defendant upon in abstentia pleas, either guilty or non-guilty, no contest. So I just wanted to make sure that, and that would be Exhibit B. So I just didn't know if you knew if that's the defense we're talking about, or you're not familiar.
I believe he pled no contest, but I'm not positive. That'd be a question for Mr. Martinez.
Okay, very good. And then the circumstances surrounding this, if you could go into that. I mean, you said, okay, he was with another one, officer witnessed this. I mean, can you go into as much detail as you know of? How do we know it? How did the department know it?
Basically, the officer was out on patrol during the deer season. It was October 7th, approximately 11 a.m., and there was a deer hanging in a tree at a camp, and a woman sitting by the deer in camp. At that time, our officer noticed Mr. Martinez walking from the creek with some water to clean the deer. Through, in a nutshell, through a conversation that ensued and so forth, our officer then determined or believed that the deer was killed by Mr. Martinez and not the female in camp. Further investigation revealed that basically the female was not able to hold the gun steady, was not able to get a good shot at the deer. So Mr. Martinez, unclear if he took the gun from the female or the female handed him the gun, and he shot the deer. In fact, the report does say that Mr. Martinez told the female to give him the gun. And I'm purposely not mentioning the female's name because I don't think we need that in the record.
Commissioner Howell?
How old was the female?
44 years old.
44. This is white.
My wife, 25 years.
Commissioner McNinch?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I guess I would, if I could, for a minute, if we could indulge, bring it up to a different level here, way back to where we're at with the appeal process here. I'm not an attorney, but we had a violation. It's my understanding that it was adjudicated. There was a plea agreement of some sort, okay, which automatically kicks in the consequences. So my question is simple. What are the options of this commission? The findings have already been put in place. There was a plea agreement. The conviction is stands. We're not going to be able to erase any convictions. That's not our jurisdiction, our authority. And we do not have authority to override NRS. And if it's mandated NRS, certain convictions result in certain penalties. I'm wondering what are we considering today? What's the consideration? That's an attorney question.
Okay. Dag Whitney, you want to answer that? Or I can give some comments. Basically, in a nutshell, what Commissioner McNinch is saying is that we can't collaterally attack the conviction. I think everybody wants to know what the facts are just so we can understand them. But to be honest, we have a conviction, and I don't believe that there's anything that we can do about that. That was admitted and it's done and it's final. He had rights to appeal that and try to turn that over. But if it's a final adjudication, I think that we're tied to whatever that outcome was. Dag Whitney?
Thank you. Well, Mr. Martinez is allowed as part of the process to bring his case and say what he has to say, but I don't know if I should answer this now or later. I mean, Mr.
Chief Bonamici did set forth the law in this case, and it does seem fairly clear. The word "shall" was used, suspend or revoke, and we'll just go from there. But Mr. Martinez does have a right to present evidence here, and he does have a right to speak to the commission.
Okay, so if I can continue.
Okay,
I think it's very important for us to understand where we're at. So what are our options? What are we considering? We can't, because it's legislated, it would be my understanding at least, that there's nothing there that we can change. And so understanding that there is an appeal process, if there's something that can come out of the appeal for Mr. Martinez, what would that be?
Those are good questions, but maybe they should be asked after Mr. Martinez does have an opportunity to go forward, to at least present his side.
Okay. I guess I'm trying to preclude going down a path that is a total dead end for us. And I guess if there's a need to think, because we're here, it's being presented to us as we're sitting here, and if there's a potential that there's nothing that we can do, it might be beneficial to all parties that we acknowledge that and move on. And if it results in you see where I'm headed, I don't want to string Mr. Martinez along.
Okay, and I understand that, but I think what Dag Whitney is saying is that notwithstanding that, he still has a right, as a matter of due process, to put on a case, whatever that case may be, and ultimately we, may come to the conclusion there's nothing we can do, but I think we need to get to that point first. Any other questions of the department from the commission?
Mr. Chair?
Yes, go ahead, Commissioner.
I think we already had this situation come up before with a fishing license. And I'm not so sure that in this particular case that the convictions are going to stand. He's got to pay. He already paid the fines probably, and he gave up his rifle. But I'm thinking if there's any option that we have, I would suggest maybe reducing the demerit points, maybe, if we can do that. If we can't do that, we're wasting our time here.
NAC 501-200, a person who is convicted of a wildlife violation will be assessed demerit points pursuant to the following schedules. And then on page 206, unlawfully possessing a big game mammal during the close season. That's what he was charged with. It's a lesser charge. Certainly, the Department has already exercised some discretion here and made this much less onerous on Mr. Martinez from the standpoint of the charge, because if it was a felony, I would imagine that maybe the penalty would be even harsher. And so I just point that out. But I don't think we can mess with the demerit points based on this regulation.
Mr. Chairman?
Go ahead.
For the record, David Newton from the Attorney General's office. If you look at NAC 501-165, this goes to Commissioner McNinch's question. Section 1 states that a hearing regarding a denial, revocation, or suspension of a license or permit shall be conducted by the Commission as a hearing de novo. So while there is a court finding out there, your regulations set up that if someone appeals a denial or a revocation, that the Commission treats that as a new hearing. So you have to look at the evidence afresh, even though there is a court finding out there. That's the way I would interpret this.
Oh, okay, and just as a legal matter, isn't there some kind of collateral estoppel that applies to that proceeding in the district court?
I would agree with you, but the way you're as the Commission, you have to follow your own regulation. And the regulation states that you're hearing it de novo. Now, the fact that there is a higher level burden of proof that's required in a criminal matter, and that's already been satisfied, certainly would seem to constrain your discretion. But based on your reg, they have the right to present, and that's all I was going at, was just in terms of Commissioner McNinch's question.
Okay, and let me just follow up with that. Should the Commission decide that they want to, through a de novo proceeding, come up with a different resolution to this case, wouldn't that leave the decision of the Commission at risk for the Department appealing and getting it overturned based on collateral estoppel argument?
Should the Department wish to pursue that, I would tell them they had a pretty good case to go forward with.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's good. Okay, Commissioner McNinch.
So one small quick question. So technically, this may very well come down to a review to make sure the department followed the proper procedures.
I would agree with that, yes.
What NRS was that?
It's NAC 501-165.
NAC.
NAC, it's your regulation.
Okay, I don't have that. I was looking at NRS.
And with it being NAC, since I've been coming to commission meetings, been on the commission, we've had this come in front of us multiple times with this logjam at the same point. And I don't think it's fair to the person bringing the case here thinking they have somewhere they can go with it, understanding where we're stuck right now. I think we need to look at that 501 and maybe adjust that so we don't end up having people take days off of work, take time out of their personal life to come in front of this panel when we really can't do anything.
Okay, that's an issue for another meeting, I guess. Commissioner McNinch.
It's just the confusion between what's allowed under statute through the appeal process. In the NAC, I understand that we have some latitude there as part of our, that there are authorities that allow us to work, if I'm understanding that. It's the statutory stuff that where it starts to state shall result in. But I guess there's a lot of exceptions in here, written in here, so I guess I kind of understand it. But it is confusing, and it's not fair in situations like this. It's very difficult. It's hard for anybody to understand it. So.
The confusion, I think, regarding the shall, in terms of how many demerit points shall be found against somebody for a certain violation, you still have to go through the process of finding that there was that violation. I agree with you completely that if you find X violation, and it says in the statute that you shall assess X number of demerit points, you have no choice but to follow that. But whether you find that violation or not is the question that the regulation deals with, and the regulation states that when you're examining that, you're going to look at it afresh based on the evidence that's presented to you at the appeal hearing.
And I guess just to clarify, we could actually have a finding that he violated the felony statute, and that would be the basis for the revocation. It'd be kind of weird that we could have that as the findings, because that's in effect what is happening here. Because the lesser included charge, I don't know, doesn't necessarily apply to the facts.
Well, I think that also would depend on the posture that the case is being presented to you in. And I don't believe that's the posture that the department is presenting the case to you in. I believe they're presenting it as the lesser violation. So while there might be evidence to find more, that's not the charge that the department is presenting to you.
Well, if that's the case, I mean, when I look unlawfully possessing big game animals during the closed season, now I imagine this is. I mean, this. Do we have a copy of 503030? Well, I don't know if we're getting off track here, but he was possessing it during an open season, right?
Mr. Chairman?
Allegedly.
Yes, exactly.
Allegedly.
Maybe we should allow Mr. Martinez to go ahead and present his case like he suggested.
Okay, if there's no further questions of the department, then I'm going to go ahead and move on and ask Mr. Martinez to go ahead and state his case to the commission.
Gracias a la comisión por atender mi apelación.
Hold on a second. Go ahead and have him speak into the mic. Commissioner Rain, you speak Spanish?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Have Ronaldo Martinez go ahead and speak into the mic, and then if you would then interpret what he just said.
Gracias a la comisión por atender mi apelación.
Thank you for the commission to review my appeal.
Yo fui muy sincero a la hora de que el wildlife estuviera en mi campamento.
He said that he was very sincere at the time the wildlife agent was in the campament where he was.
La female que estaba conmigo era mi esposa de 44 años y de 25 años de casado.
He said that the female that was with him is his wife, and she's 44 years old, and she's his wife over 25 years.
Ella era la que tenía el tag realmente, y ella era nuestra primera vez. Ella se puso muy nerviosa y el rifle pesaba mucho.
He said that she was the one that had the tag. I don't understand what is that, but it was the first time they were hunting, and she got a little nervous, and the rifle was like kind of heavy for her.
Y y nada, los nervios le ganan a uno y yo le pegué el rifle y yo fui el que le tiré al animal.
And basically, sometimes nerves win over you, and then he asked her, give me the rifle, and then we're going to, kill them, the deer, whatever it was.
Yo fui honesto y le dije todo lo sucedido como había sido. Yo nunca oculté nada.
Eso fue, nunca te cogieron tirando.
No, no.
He said that even though it happened after, when they asked him, the animal was already dead. So he said that he always was honest since the guy asked him like how kill it or how, like he wasn't really caught in the action. He was after that. So he said that he didn't lie. He said that he was honest and he explained, how he did it.
Yo fui al proceso de la corte y me encontraron culpable. Lo que tengo es un misdemeanor y yo cumplí con todo lo impuesto por el juez.
He said he kind of was found guilty. When he compared everything he's supposed to do, he had the rifle, he put his big fines and everything.
Y todo lo impuesto por el juez. Todo.
And then he compared everything the judge told him to do.
Yo no sabía que me iban a quitar mi licencia de hunting y fishing. No tenía idea. Yo pensaba que con solamente ir a juez ya todo había acabado.
He didn't have He said that he didn't have any idea, but doing that he would be like suspending his license. He thought that by running for guilty, it will pay the fine and all that, and it will be like kind of over. He didn't know that they will suspend, but that was the way he was fishing, and that's his life, that's what he does for a living, for the way but was his hobby. So he didn't know that
yo estoy muy arrepentido por lo que hice. Sé que yo no quiero romper la ley, pero quiero que se me dé una oportunidad que creo que merezco, solamente por ser honesto y decir las cosas como son.
He said that he would like to have an opportunity to, forgive him, and that he feels so sorry for that, because he was honest, The difference is that thing, I don't know what is that, but just by doing that, he would like an opportunity for you guys considering that.
Yo estoy dispuesto a trabajar para el departamento de wildlife, obras comunitarias o etcétera, lo que la comisión me pida. Pero quiero que entiendan que la caza y la pesca para mí es muy importante. Eso es lo único que yo hago.
He said that he's able, he's ready to work in community services for the wildlife department or something he can do, but I would like to see if he does consider that, because that's his life, that's his passion, fishing and hunting and the outdoors, that's his hobby of life,
Yo soy un padre de familia, trabajador, honesto. Nunca he tenido problema con la justicia. Y, por favor, si me pueden dar una oportunidad.
He said he's a family father. He's also a worker. He already how they do, but you can check him. And he just wanted to, as a citizen of this country too, he wanted like an opportunity because it was his first time.
Gracias.
And thank you.
Okay. I guess, okay, it's, does the department have any questions of Mr. Ronaldo Martinez? Okay, Chief Bonamici is indicating no for the record.
Mr. Chairman.
Okay, I'll bring it back to the commission for questions of Mr. Martinez.
Mr. Martinez, had you applied for a deer tag and been turned down prior to going on the hunting trip?
Que si antes de irte a Casa Plena, como tú tenías que te había aplicado para el tag.
Sí, yes. Y nunca se me dio ese tag. Se le dio a mi señora esposa y por eso fue que fuimos juntos.
He said that yes, he applied for the tag, but it wasn't approved, but he gave it to his wife. And by her having her, it was the first time to go, so they both went.
Any other questions, Commissioner Howell?
When you came here today, did you understand there was nothing we could do? We have no authority to do anything. Did you understand that?
No, realmente yo vine para que se me ofreciera una oportunidad. No tenía idea de lo que podía pasar.
No, he didn't realize that. He only thought by the problem. He thought that we will have like an opportunity, like another chance, like a forgiveness. And he thought that problem would be like an opportunity for him to where you guys will revoke it.
Any other commissioners with any questions of Mr. Martinez? Okay, seeing none. Then I'll ask the department to go ahead and make a closing statement for the record.
For the record, Chief Game Warden Rob Bonamici. With regards to conversations that I had with Mr. Martinez over the phone, I believe it was his nephew that was present that was interpreting, and it was explained to his nephew and Mr. Martinez, who were on the phone, that what they can appeal is, did we follow the process? Is he indeed the person that was convicted? Do we have the right person, in essence? And did we follow the process? Was he notified? Did he receive all the proper paperwork and so forth? And so that was explained to him. The other issue is I feel that our officers used discretion in the field. This could have been a felony. It could have easily been a gross misdemeanor. We didn't feel that was worthy of that due to the nature of the circumstances. You've heard Mr. Martinez here today. Our officer basically perceived what you folks are perceiving, that he's not a bad guy. We're not saying he's a bad guy. That's why we went with the misdemeanor and supported the misdemeanor. And we had to charge something that the district attorney felt comfortable with, obviously a violation that is somewhat similar. May not be the exact violation that fits the exact crime, but that's the way plea bargains are done in plea negotiations. So basically, we intervened on Mr. Martinez's behalf.
Okay, thank you, Chief Bonamici. Okay, Mr. Martinez, you can go ahead and make a closing statement. Conclude as to
Solo gracias. Gracias por atender mi caso y deseenme suerte.
He said only thank you for attending his case and wish him luck.
okay, thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Go ahead.
one.
Actually, you don't have any further questions, Mr. Martinez, do you? I don't know if we can ask those at this point, right? Yeah, I think we've concluded any questions, Mr. Martinez. So I'm going to bring it back for deliberations and to the commission right now. Okay, so for the record, we've completed closing arguments, and so now we're going to bring it back to the commission for deliberations with respect to the matter of the Department of Wildlife versus Ronaldo Martinez. Any commissioners? Commissioner Rain?
Thank you. Perhaps can clear up some of the questions that I know other commissioners have had, and I'd like one or both DAGs to weigh in on this. My understanding is that under the law, we can, under NAC 501.165, we may consider only allegations of procedural error committed by the department that affect the substantive rights of the appellant. Is there anything? That's it. Is there anything else what did I miss?
That's the limit of what you can consider in this hearing. That's correct.
What's the number on that, Scott?
501.165, that would be 2B.
Yes.
Is there anything else? Can I consider something else? I just want to make sure. If there's something else I consider, I'd like to know. So that's it. Okay. Thank you. And I don't know if you understood that there's a certain law that there's only certain things that we can consider, and we got one little sentence. We can consider only allegations of procedural errors committed by the department that affect the substantive rights of the appellant.
Okay.
Okay.
Slide, Commissioner McMillan.
So thank you, Mr. Chairman. Okay, so with that in mind, first of all, Ms. Bosch, you've done a very nice job of interpreting for us, so thank you. And Mr. Martinez, I do believe you're being honest with this, and I appreciate that personally. So I do believe that you're telling us what happened, and appreciate that. I do have a procedural question, and we owe it to Mr. Martinez to bring it out. I don't know if I'm just missing something or not. Was this hearing held within 60 days of the notice of him being noticed, of him notifying that he wanted a request for a hearing?
For the record, Chief Game Warden Rob Bonamici. Yes, he was noticed by the letter, and then we received his letter requesting a hearing. I then, on September 22nd, 2011, my notes say, spoke with Renardo and his son-in-law, explained the process. Renardo would like this to be heard in Las Vegas in February. So it was a mutual agreement that we had. He requested, so he didn't have to travel to Reno, that this be heard down here in Las Vegas. And I advised him that the next meeting in Las Vegas would be in February. And he was in agreement with that.
Okay, thank you. Any other commissioners? Commissioner Strom?
Mr. Chairman, I had a question for Chief Bonamici. I'm looking at this. I know this has been reduced from a felony down to a misdemeanor, but I'm looking here right underneath 503-030 is possessing a big game mammal or parts thereof without a tag attached to. My question is, did Mr. Martinez have the tag attached to the deer? Is there any possibility that, since we brought this down from a felony to a misdemeanor, that possibly he might be charged with 502-150, which is 9 points, which would allow the gentleman to go ahead and retain his license. He have 9 points, but he's spent, considering the price of the rifle and everything, approximately $2,000. So far, I realize that he's broken the law, but it would give the gentleman an opportunity to go ahead and retain his license. Is such a thing possible to consider?
For the record, Chief Game Warden Rob Bonamici, the situation was there was no tag attached to the deer. The tag was not punched. So that being said, under NRS 501.1814, Section 2, the last sentence, if a conviction of 2 or more wildlife violations committed at a single event is obtained, demerit points must be assessed for the offense having the greater number of demerit points. So we don't have a choice. It's 12 demerit points. That's the greater offense.
Commissioner McBench.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm struggling to see, pursuant to NAC 501.165, in particular, Section 2B, subsection 2B, where we've got any procedural issues. I'm not sure that there are a lot of remedies that this board has. I think that we've, in my mind, I'm just expressing my own thoughts now. Those opportunities that passed through the plea agreement and the activities that occurred. From my reading of the statutes and the codes, is that the potential was there for this to be a 5-year suspension, and I'm not seeing any procedural issues. So, which is the one area that we can consider, unless Commissioner Rain asked earlier, is that where we're at? So, unless there's further deliberation, I'm more prepared to make a motion here shortly.
Before you do, let me just ask Chief Bonamici if you would please set forth what the full penalty is under the felony charge, so we know basically how much of a reduction that has occurred by the department pursuing the lesser charge.
To answer your question, Chief Game Warden Rob Bonamici, first of all, even with the misdemeanor under NRS, a civil penalty can be attached of up to $5,000 for the deer at the time this violation occurred, conviction occurred. So that was not done. Under the felony, he'd be facing up to $2,000, and then there's jail time that goes with that, which none was recommended, would have been recommended. It just didn't warrant it. So there was a dramatic reduction there. With the felony comes some loss of rights, such as voting and so forth. So that action was not taken.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Rain.
I mean, I'll comment, but on deliberation, but the reinstatement, can you go over the reinstatement, what he needs to do to get reinstated? Is it automatic? Is it an October 3rd, 2014? Is there any chance it's for earlier or after that date? What's he got to do?
For the record, Rob Bonamici, Chief Game Warden, his reinstatement is automatic. This letter serves as notice that on that day, he can apply for, go down, buy a hunting license, fishing license, apply for tags, what have you. So he is automatically reinstated on that day. It's entered into a computer program that is shared amongst, I believe it's up to 32 states throughout the country now. That information shared, and he's potentially revoked in all those states. And then via the program, it's dropped off on that day.
Okay. Thanks, Chief Bonamici. Any further questions or comments or deliberations? Okay, go ahead. Commissioner Raines.
Okay, now we're in deliberation. Thank you. On this matter, I wish there was some other something we could do, but as it appears that all we can do is look at procedural errors committed by the department. Since that's it, I have not yet perceived any procedural errors. Just in general, it's disturbing to me anytime we eliminate a sportsman from the sport in a first offense where he has admitted direct fault and already paid probably in excess of $3,000, more than $3,000 when I start adding things up and get the rifle and stuff. You're pushing between $3,000 and $4,000, and then you're also eliminating from the sport, having no prior convictions. I hate to push anybody out of the sport because it has a tendency, in my perception, to cause people not to obey the law in the future. But in this case, I just don't see anything else the Commission has any power to do. If we did, I would really like to hear it, because as much as these things are fine, the penalties are fine, I really don't think it warrants suspending his privileges after he's paid all those penalties in this case. Thank you.
Any other commissioners have any comments?
Oh, and also, further, the translation was very good. You could get a good job on court doing that. Very good.
I'm sorry.
I just told her that her translation was very good. Very good. She did a job, paid a lot of money in court doing that.
Okay. I guess I'd like to state and make sure Mr. Martinez understands that this could have been a lot worse. The Department of Wildlife could have asserted a felony, and it could have resulted in a lot more negative things happening to him and a longer period of time of his license being suspended. And so I commend the Department of Wildlife for exercising this discretion and recognizing that Mr. Martinez was a good guy, as Chief Bonamici indicated. And but at the same time, we have to draw a line, and we basically have to hold people accountable to what our laws state and the reasons for those laws. And we have in this state a very specific requirement that only the person that draws the tag shoots the animal. And there's a lot of really good reasons for that. I don't think that we want to change those laws or that policy. While it's nice to think about making exceptions when we're dealing with somebody who seems like a really good person, I think there's the danger of creating exceptions, and then we get stuck with how do we fairly grant exceptions. And so That's the danger I see of trying to go further, but then we can. But in the end, as everybody has indicated, Commissioner McNinch, Commissioner Rain, and our DAGs, we're literally tied to any procedural errors, and I too see nothing that the department has done procedurally in error. And in fact, I believe that they have exercised an immense amount of discretion in this case, and so I'm satisfied. So at this point, if there's no other deliberations or comments, I need to bring it back for a motion to make findings of fact first. Do we do findings and conclusions, or just findings first?
Findings of fact.
Okay. And so does anybody want to take a stab at laying out the findings of fact and the conclusion as to this appeal?
I guess I'm seeing there's only a couple real findings of fact that I can see. Maybe somebody can point out other ones if you have them. But I would make a motion stating findings of fact, considering the following findings of fact, that the department afforded Mr. Martinez with the proper appeal process pursuant to statutes and codes, and Endow properly processed that appeal request, and that a proper hearing was held, and the finding that there, in my opinion, were no procedural problems with how those processes were handled and followed, I would make a motion to deny the appeal request.
Second.
What we probably need to do is expand the findings of fact to start. In other words, the statute requires that we determine if there was any procedural violations, but that really starts from the initial charge and the actual event. And so it's not just the appeal process that we're trying to find a procedural violation. It's any procedural processes from the beginning to the end. So I think we probably need to have either restate the motion or amend the motion with the findings of fact.
I will withdraw my motion in an attempt to have one clean motion when we're done.
Okay,
So
that's a good idea.
I'll withdraw the second.
Okay. So, with that in mind, I would make a motion. It's hard to make a motion with the findings of fact here. Based on lack of evidence that there were procedural violations with regards to the incident itself, the issuance of the citation, the processing of paperwork, requesting appeals, the department processed the paperwork properly. A proper meeting was held. There were no findings of procedural problems with regards to the appeal. I would make a motion that we deny Mr. Martinez his appeal. I feel like I'm missing something.
I'll second that, so we can discuss it.
Let me just take a minute here. I'm going to jot down some quick notes. But if there's, go ahead, Commissioner Wallace.
I just wanted to throw it out there. It seems, my recollection, the last time we approached one of these, that we had to include the NRS and NAC numbers in the findings of fact. Just a question to throw out there. I don't know if that's a requirement. Okay. I just couldn't remember the last time we did it.
Okay. Well, Mr. Chairman, I've got a suggestion then. If I were to remove my motion a second time, perhaps we could take a quick break so we could put some thoughts together and do this properly.
I think that's an excellent idea. Let's take a short recess.
Mr. Chairman, before you do that, I would withdraw my motion that I just made.
Withdraw a second.
Okay. So we're now, we have no motions pending at this point, so we'll take a short recess. How much time?
10 minutes.
10 minutes. We'll reconvene in 10 minutes.